Some legal claims remain, and the FDA has said it doesn't plan to enforce any new requirements until December of next year. I'm Julie Walker.
Diplomats and other officials say there have been several sticking points in ceasefire talks in the war between Israel and the Lebanese militant group Hezbollah, even as conditions for an agreement appear to be ripe. Israel's military has killed nearly all of the militant group's top leaders. Tens of thousands of Israelis who were evacuated from the border months ago are pressuring their government to go home. On Wall Street, the Dow by 440 points, the Nasdaq rose 51, the S&P advanced 18. More at townhall.com.
So you just grin and bear it or bite the bullet when it comes to everyday pain? Don't. Try Relief Factor, a drug-free daily supplement that helps your body fight pain naturally. Relief Factor doesn't just mask pain, it helps reduce or even eliminate it. It's 100% drug-free, it's developed by doctors. In 3 weeks or less, you'll know whether it works for you like it works for me. Try Relief Factor for yourself. Go to relieffactor.com or call 1-800-4RELIEF and save on your first order. That's 1-800-4-RELIEF.
Right now may be the perfect time for you to rethink how you pay for health care. Not only is it open enrollment for a lot of people, it's when you can join MediShare and save even more than usual. MediShare is the highest rated healthcare sharing ministry, and members save up to 50% or more on their monthly healthcare costs. Here's why now, too. If you join before November 30th and use the promo code SHARE, they'll waive your application fee. You could save even more. Call now. It's 833-34-BIBLE. That's 833-34-BIBLE.
Here's the Wall Street Business Report.
The stocks closed higher, sending the Dow Jones Industrial Average to another all-time high. The Dow added 1% to the record it set on Friday. The S&P 500 rose 0.3%, while the Nasdaq Composite rose 0.3% also. Treasury yields eased in the bond market after President-elect Donald Trump says he wants Scott Bessent, a hedge fund manager, to be his Treasury secretary. Smaller companies can feel a big boost from easier borrowing costs, and the Russell 2000 index of small stocks jumped 1.5%. The Dow was up 440 points today to close at 44,736. The Nasdaq gained 51 to 19,054. The S&P 500 added 18 to 5987. For the Wall Street Business Report, I'm John Scott.
News and analysis at townhall.com.
On Point Weather is made possible by our friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union on 107 The Point.
Here's tonight's forecast. Clouds do roll in a bit this evening. We'll have a low temperature dipping down to 54. Tomorrow it's a blend of some sunshine and more clouds. A 20% chance we get a scattered shower. The high reaches 72. If you're traveling this week on Thursday, could be a wet one in the Midlands. A 60% chance of some Thanksgiving rain. A 71 is our high. I'm Cal Moss with your On Point local weather.
WQXL Columbia, W264DF.
From the Bart Fireside Studio, the solution for keeping you warm this winter.
This is 107 The Point.
This is Sports Talk with Phil Kornblut and Chris Bergen. Sports Talk is heard across the state on radio affiliates of the Sports Talk Media Network and is streaming live on SportsTalkSC.com, as well as Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. The South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number to call in is 888-898-2525. That's 888-898-2525. Now, here are Phil and Chris with tonight's edition of Sports Talk.
All right, welcome in, everybody, and welcome to the week of weeks, the days of days. It's the week of the Palmetto Bowl. Carolina-Clemson, Clemson-Carolina up in Death Valley. High noon on Saturday. Can't wait for it to get here. I know you're excited about it as well. And we're going to take plenty of time tonight, tomorrow night, Wednesday, to take your phone calls and your predictions on the game. It's time to get it done. The phone number is 888-898-2525, and the Sports Talk text line number is 803-900-4847, 803-900-4847. Phil Kornblut, Chris Bergen, Matt Smith, joining us as well. Smitty was up at Clemson on Saturday. I was in Columbia, and Bergie was with Coastal Carolina. Josh Cohen here pulling everything together. So go ahead and grab a line, and we'll get to you here shortly once we kind of touch on things from over the weekend. Welcome, guys. Hope you had a great weekend. Smitty, you saw Clemson take on the Citadel. Tigers won it the way they should have. Genuinely speaking, they should feel pretty good about things, yet there may be some concern about a number of rushing yards the Tigers gave up to the Bulldogs. Fill us in on that. Was that against some of the first-teamers or mostly the twos and the threes that were in there?
Well, no, they do have a concern there. To go in order, I was going to say if we look at what was good, what was bad, and what is relevant moving forward. What was really good is, look, Clemson needed some BP, right? A little batting practice. And no offense to the Citadel and Maurice Drayton, who I have a tremendous respect for, but Clemson needed this. They needed kind of a get-right game, and they got it. Where Cade Klubnik got to throw 3 touchdowns, really got some live time with his receivers in Antonio Williams and Bryant Westco Jr., and they just are gelling as an offense at the right time. And also, Phil Maffa needed a light night. You know, there were reports that you brought to us from Larry Williams and from TigerIllustrated.com and others that Maffa's shoulder is not right and may need surgery in the offseason. So he needed a light night. So they got to, ride Jay Haynes. And also some linemen like Tristan Lee and Marcus Tate that needed some more time off. And they got all of that. So all of that was really exactly what Clemson was looking for. What needs work is what you just mentioned, that rush defense, 288 yards. And a lot of that was against the first team. They were not stout against the run. Clemson has really good numbers this season against the pass. When you factor in sacks, just 5.4 yards against per pass play. Clemson, some people have criticized Wes Goodwin for that bend, don't break, umbrella-style defense, but the numbers statistically against the pass this year have been very good, but there have been times when they've been gashed. Louisville most recently, which is one that really sticks out because that cost them a win. That's why Clemson is not in a better position when it comes to the college football playoff because of that loss. That's why they're not sitting controlling their own destiny with the ACC championship. And what's relevant there is Dabo Swinney said this several times. If you wanted to talk X's and O's, he said they didn't do a good job against option principles that they knew they were going to face. They worked on it this week. Assignment football that every football coach across this land and many high school coaches listening to us have beat their head against a door because they can't get their kids to play proper assignment football. Clemson couldn't do it against the Citadel, and they couldn't do it previously against some other teams. And that's an issue. That's relevant moving forward because South Carolina in recent weeks has done a really good job with Lenore Sellers and Raheem Sanders in what they do, making you defend. It's almost like an old-style option, that read option that they've had success with because of Sellers. So that's something that I know Clemson's hammering away at this weekend practice. So you ask how much of it came against the twos and the threes. Yeah, but the ones had their issues too. The Citadel was moving the ball early in the ball game with the run, and it's something that Clemson has dealt with all season, and they've only got about 5 days to get it right.
Yeah. All right, but the Tigers win at 51-14, what you expected, and pretty much the same thing in Columbia. Though the Gamecocks had their moments with Wofford, they win at 56-12. Amazing, again, how similar Clemson and South Carolina are, and they have been throughout the season, how plays have replicated both ways. One will do this, one will do something very similar. Same thing here in this ball game. The Gamecocks had some early issues with Wofford. Give Wofford credit for coming out and stinging the Gamecocks on their first offensive play. Gamecock defense stood up, only allowed a field goal. It was a 14-9 game late in the first half, and then the Gamecocks knocked in a score and then took the second half kickoff, went down and scored. So that 14-point turnaround swung things in the Gamecocks' direction. They totally dominated the second half. It was very one-sided in the second half, and the Gamecocks go on to a 56-12 win. They roll up over 600 yards of offense, so the numbers look very good for them. with the averages. When you do something like that, it was their most productive day of the season. And, of course, Sellers continues to play at a high level, and they ran the ball extremely well. They caught the ball well. And except for a breakdown here or there in that first half, their defense really played well in the second half, and they worked in a lot of people as well. They went deep into their bench as well. So I think both of these teams got out of those particular games what they were hoping for, a win, no new serious injuries. The Gamecocks did have one player dealing with a hamstring injury late in the game, but we'll find out more from Beamer and from Sweeney tomorrow on the injury status of their teams. It looks like Clemson believes that, based on reporting up there, that most of those offensive linemen will be back for the South Carolina game. Tristan Lee at left tackle. Marcus Tate apparently is still a bit of a question mark, but getting Lee back will allow them to move Blake Miller back to the other tackle and kind of resettle things on that offensive line. They hope to have Tate back as well to have a complete offensive line. South Carolina had Thompson back starting at left tackle, so they're back with their normal starting offensive line. And otherwise, they held out Simon to try to let him get healthier, and Brown to try to let him get healthier. There will be no midweek availability report required because this is not an SEC game, so whatever we get will come from Beamer at his press conference tomorrow, or anything he might say on his radio show. But the Gamecocks did what they needed to do, which was win the game, come out of it without any major injuries, and now they focus on the Palmetto Bowl. And Chris, we'll touch on Coastal in a moment, but with what happened in college football over the weekend, I mean, this game takes on maybe a little bit more of a meaning with the idea that a South Carolina win might get the Gamecocks into the college football playoff. Even a Clemson loss would not eliminate them, but a Clemson win would get them 10 wins, 10-2, and should Miami beat Syracuse and keep Clemson out of the ACC championship game, 10-2 Clemson with a win over South Carolina with what's happened over the last week in college football, that might be enough for the Tigers to get in as an at-large team.
Wow. I just don't think either team's getting in unless Clemson wins the ACC championship, because I don't see Clemson leapfrogging SMU. If, let's assume, SMU and Miami are in the finals, and the winner of that game is obviously going. The loser, I think, probably goes too. I just don't see Clemson going unless they win the ACC championship, and I don't think a South Carolina team is great. If the Gamecocks finish 9-3, it has been a remarkable season for them. They will have won 6 ball games in a row and 4 straight over ranked teams. I mean, it's an incredible way to finish. But you can't overlook what happened to them earlier in the season. Yeah, they lost the LSU game they shouldn't have. They got it stolen from them. They got beaten by Ole Miss, and they lost to Alabama. Those losses should matter. And I just don't think a 9-3 team. Surely we can find 12 teams, or at least 11, because we're going to count the group of 5 as well. There should be 11 football teams that have better records than 3 losses. If not, we've expanded the playoffs too far, and it's what I feared. That when you expand the playoffs, you're going to have, and this is not a mediocre South Carolina team. You put the Gamecocks on the field with anybody right now, and they've got a puncher's chance. But again, those losses back in September should matter. The losses, they have to matter just as much as their wins right now. And I just don't think, even with a win over Clemson, they belong in the playoffs. It's unfortunate, but it's a great springboard for them for next season. And I just don't see the ACC getting 3 teams in. I just don't. So, to me, Clemson's got to win this game, and there probably needs to get some help and get into the ACC championship for them to have a shot to get in.
Well, I'm sort of with you. I have felt all along that the committee would not take a 3-loss at-large team, but there's people out there pumping up the Gamecocks from the standpoint of if they win, and you just cited the winning streak and the wins over all those ranked teams. And does the committee look at what you've done the last 6 or 7 weeks? Does that outweigh what happened back in September? Should it, the basketball committee certainly puts a lot of weight on how you finish in the basketball regular season. Yeah, supposedly. So, I mean, we'll see. You're right. If the Gamecocks go 9-3, that's way beyond the expectations of everybody. I mean, even my expectation for them back in the summer in August, when we talked about it, I thought, okay, this team might win 7, because you looked at the ones you thought they would win, you looked at the ones that you thought they might win, and you looked at the ones that you thought they wouldn't win, and they've won some of those that you didn't think they would win, and they almost won some of those that you didn't think they would win. They won the ones that they were supposed to win. So anyway, it's come together very nicely for them, and Vegas has got this as a 3-point game, which is basically the home field advantage that they're giving Clemson. So they see it pretty much as an even game. I'm sticking with what I said last week. I think it's going to be a 28-24 game, Smitty, in the fourth quarter. 28-24. Gamecocks are leading, and I think they're going to be pressuring Klubnik, who's going to try to make a play. And he's going to make a throw across the middle that Eban Wari is going to intercept and return for a clinching touchdown, 35-24, the final there, assuming that nobody roughs the passer and take another interception away from Eban Wari. I mean, poor guy would have double-digit interceptions if his teammates would stop hitting the quarterback after he picks. Smitty, we haven't gotten your pick on this one. How do you see it?
Well, for one thing, I'd like to request that you get a little more specific when you pick this game. I want to hear more about it. But, I've been leaning. I was asked this question, obviously when I was at the game, and I've been asked this question in a few of the interviews I've done. And my take has been I'm leaning South Carolina for a couple of reasons. I wasn't surprised when the spread came out in favor of Clemson, because, you can't count on odds makers to know the complete history of everything. And this is just one of those strange rivalries. Clemson, in the last 16 at Williams-Brice Stadium, the Tigers are 12-4. They have owned Williams-Brice as their own. But since 1992, and there was some rotten South Carolina teams, Corn, that you covered very closely, right in that era, 1992 through last season, South Carolina is 7-8 at Death Valley in the rivalry game. And look, we can go through all the factors, and I think we all know that, Carolina fans are going to buy tickets and go to Death Valley and vice versa in this rivalry. So you don't get, I don't think, the full 3 points. But to me, I see a problem that Clemson has got. I think Clemson has owned this rivalry over the years because they've been better in the trenches, dating back to the Danny Ford era and before. They usually are better right there at the line of scrimmage, and it's hard to beat a team when you own that real estate. I think this season, not only is South Carolina a little bit better in the trenches, I think Clemson has injuries that could play a factor. Even if Tristan Lee and Marcus Tate are back, are they 100%? They haven't played in a few weeks. How is that unit going to play? And it is the wrong time to try to get well as an offensive line against Dylan Stewart and Kyle Kennard and TJ Sanders and that group. So I think that's a major factor. Look, and if Clemson does win, I think it's going to be because Cade Klubnik and Phil Maffa and Antonio Williams go nuts, which is always a possibility. But it's hard to do against. South Carolina's earned its defensive statistics. They're the 13th best defense in the nation statistically, and I think they might be. I think they are better than that. Frankly, I think they are better than that, and especially when you factor in level of competition. And I also think they're facing a different Lenora Sellers right now than they faced most of the year. Now Nick Harbor's a factor. Just everywhere I look, I think South Carolina has gotten a little bit better. So I'm leaning toward the Gamecocks. And also, I also think if this game gets sideways, I don't see how Clemson blows South Carolina out. I think their defense is too good. So I think South Carolina's in it for 4 quarters. I think it could get sideways against Clemson, however, because they've got that. You brought it up right at the outset. There have been a couple of games where they've been gashed against the run. And I just looked it up. You asked me about the number ones. They gave up 196 yards rushing to the Citadel, and I think about 5.6 a pop running the football. Now, look, I mean, every week is different. Every week is absolutely different. But if Rocket Sanders gets going for 4.5 yards a carry, not 5, not 6, 4.5 yards a carry, that brings play action into the game. Play action with Lenore Sellers and Josh Simon if he's healthy, and now Nick Harbor who's involved, and then guys like Delvon Campbell who we didn't even know would contribute at the beginning of the year. I just think South Carolina is this might be their year. It's their year every once in a while, and I think this is one of them.
Well, Chris, I saw a tweet today that, if I remember it correctly, it was something like this will be the 7th time the two teams have met.
I was going to bring this stat up. Yep.
And that South Carolina has one of the 6. They've won 5 of those, which says to me that, when South Carolina has a good team, a nationally recognized team, they play very well against Clemson, and they've won more often than not. Clemson's just had more ranked teams over the years. They've been better more than South Carolina has been. But when South Carolina's been good, they've been really good and able to beat Clemson up there, as Smitty pointed out. I really think, when you analyze it, both of these teams are capable of playing very good defense. Both of them are capable of running the football. It's going to come down. I told you what I think would happen, but generally speaking, the two quarterbacks can make big plays with both their arms and their legs. However, they are also both vulnerable to turning the ball over. They've done a little bit better job of that, and Klubnik's cut his interceptions down, and Sellers threw one on the second pass of the game, second play of the game. He threw a pick. Guy made a really nice play from Wofford. But he's cut down on his turnovers as well, protecting the football. And when Clemson has lost the games to South Carolina when they thought they were going to win, the turnovers played a very big factor in that. They played a factor 2 years ago up there. So protecting the football, these quarterbacks protecting the football, that's going to be integral as well to whoever wins.
Yeah, I saw that stat you referenced a few minutes ago, and we'll see it all week long, I'm sure, especially from the Gamecock side of the coin. The only loss in the matchup where they were both ranked for South Carolina was back in 2000 when Clemson won 16-14. But otherwise, the Gamecocks, when they are equal, they find a way to be better. And you look across the board, and I think Smitty brought up an excellent point. I mean, let's go position by position. Where do you see an advantage for Clemson versus where do you see advantages for South Carolina? I would say right off the bat, you probably think, well, Cade Klubnik is better at quarterback than Lenore Sellers is. But I'm beginning to wonder now if Lenore's hasn't closed that gap so quickly, Phil, because of what he's had to face. And he's been battle-tested. And this game's not going to be any bigger than going to Alabama and trying to win, going to Norman, Oklahoma and trying to win, playing against LSU at home before he got hurt. I mean, he's been thrown into the cauldron and has handled it extremely well. So I think he's probably on the same plane. And some of the plays that he has made this year with his ability to escape pressure, I think it's just phenomenal, and it's elevated that offense. And you go wide receivers, maybe Clemson's got an advantage there. Offensive line, the way Carolina's offensive line has come along, probably equal. Running backs, I think they're certainly equal. Then on the defensive side, I don't know that I don't take every level of the Gamecocks' defense versus Clemson's defense.
Yeah, I agree. I think you summed it up nicely there. So we'll see. It'll come down again to I think who's going to make the biggest plays, who will make most of the big plays, and who will protect the football, and special teams. Yeah, I think you mentioned special teams. Clemson has had a terrible year with special teams. They had another field goal attempt blocked, did they not, Smitty, by the Citadel?
They did, and Dabo Sweeney's take on that, however, that was the reserve kicker, Robert Gunn, and he said that was a worm burner.
Yeah.
So he didn't blame that one on the protection team. Although we have to remember, and look, we don't know precisely who's going to be on that field goal protection unit coming up, but they had 9 linemen not practicing earlier this week. They had several linemen that they went ahead and kept out. We can't forget that affects special teams. Because if you're not going to pull the red shirt off some of those young players and play them, on the offensive line, you can't just choose to use them on the field goal protection unit either. So those are reserves trying to protect against kick. Probably not that big a deal against Citadel. Everybody can shrug it off. It's a big deal against South Carolina if you run Nolan Hooser out there and he needs a 46-yarder right before halftime. All of a sudden, you start thinking about it. And, of course, Shane Beamer, with his background, is working on that this week. You know that they are looking and prodding for those weak points on film in that protection unit for Clemson. Yeah,
you would certainly think so, and it's got to be on the mind of the Clemson coaching staff, the players, and the fans, to the point where a couple of games ago when they finally completed a field goal attempt, that Dabo Swinney, bowed to his offensive line coach, Matt Luke, like, hey, thank you for finally, getting the offensive line fixed there so we can get a kick off. Now, maybe some of those have been because they were low kicks. That's on the kicker. I get that. But still, that's 7 blocked kicks, 7 blocked field goals for the year. That's got to be some kind of a record.
And Phil, does it change Dabo Swinney's thinking and his thought process going into this game, where if it's a 4th and 2 at, say, the 35-yard line, do you start thinking about, I'm not kicking field goals now? Let's move it inside the 30. Let's say it's a 47-yard field goal, it's a 45-yard field goal, something that's got some depth to it, that the trajectory has to come off a little bit lower because of the distance.
Yeah.
Does he start going for it like Shane Beamer does? I mean, Beamer goes for it ad nauseum on 4th down. I mean, does Dabo rethink what he would normally do in a critical situation because he's concerned about his special teams unit, especially in a game where momentum swings are so big and can provide such a punch to the opposition? Will he rethink what he would normally do, say, in a September game against Georgia Tech versus going into this game on Saturday?
I think he'd have to. And also another factor in this ball game is how loose is Shane Beamer going to be with the 4th down marker? Is he going to be willing to push that button repeatedly in a game like this and run the risk of leaving that defense in a precarious position, giving Clemson a shorter field? So we'll see how loose he is with that when it comes to making a decision on whether or not to punt or go for it on like 4th and 1, 4th and 2 at, say, the Clemson 40-yard line. Maybe it's too far for a field goal for his guy. You could punt Clemson back inside the 10, or you can go for it to try to keep your drive alive. If you get the first down, all well and good, but if not, you're going to give Clemson a short field. So I think it's going to be a heck of a ball game. I think it will be something that goes into the fourth quarter like I have described in my vision for the game. So we'll see what happens, It could be something entirely different. Very quickly, Coastal Carolina took it on the chin Saturday. Not a good performance, huh?
No, not at all. 4 turnovers and 2 of 12 on 3rd down is probably the 2 stats you need to see, because partly that led to what Georgia Southern did so well. They possessed the football for nearly 39 minutes on Saturday. Coastal could never get into any rhythm offensively. It's the first time since 2011 that Coastal has not scored a touchdown in a ball game. They kicked 2 field goals and actually had a chance to score early in the 3rd quarter. They were down 13-3. Braden Bennett rips off a 67-yard run down to the 4-yard line. He gets run down from behind. They can't punch it in. They kicked a field goal, and you feel like, all right, they're within 7. They're right back in it. But it just seemed like it might as well have been 40. Because they just could not get in any rhythm offensively. They just struggled the entire day. Georgia Southern, to its credit, that was a game they had to have, because Georgia Southern's still in the race, and then Marshall, I think, ended up winning on Saturday, so they're still a game back in the East Division with 1 game to play. They hold the tiebreaker with Marshall, but they've got to catch them first. So that was a big win for them, and now Coastal faces a unique situation for them. They haven't been in a situation where it's play or go home. They've got to win Saturday at Georgia State, where they've never lost, or they're not going to qualify for a bowl this year.
Okay, there you go. Our thoughts on Palmetto Bowl 2024. We'll turn things over to you after the break. Hear what you have to say. We'll be back in just a moment.
On Point Weather is made possible by our friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union on 107 The Point.
Here's tonight's forecast. Clouds do roll in a bit this evening. We'll have a low temperature dipping down to 54. Tomorrow, it's a blend of some sunshine and more clouds. A 20% chance we get a scattered shower. The high reaches 72. If you're traveling this week on Thursday, could be a wet one in the Midlands. A 60% chance of some Thanksgiving rain. A 71 is our high. I'm Cal Moss with your On Point local weather.
Just like crisp mornings, college football rivalries, and your in-laws that won't leave, Black Friday deals are back again at Palmetto State Armory. Whether you're a cranberry sauce lover or hater, you're going to love the deals from Holison, Savage, and 6 Hour. We have BOGO deals on Hey Dude shoes, $100 off select Costa sunglasses, and of course, more savings on PSA rifles and pistols than you can shake a turkey leg at. Stores open at 6 a.m. on Black Friday with deals lasting through the weekend while supplies last. Check out PalmettoStateArmory.com for all the deals and to find the location closest to you.
With SRN News, I'm Keith Peters reporting a judge has granted a request from prosecutors to dismiss election interference cases against President-elect Donald Trump. The prosecutors acknowledge that Trump's return to the White House will preclude attempts to federally prosecute him for obtaining classified documents or trying to overturn his 2020 election defeat. Airports and highways are expected to be jam-packed during Thanksgiving week, a holiday period likely to end with another record day for air travel in the United States. AAA predicts that nearly 80 million people will venture at least 50 miles from home between Tuesday and next Monday, most of them by car. However, travelers could be impacted by ongoing weather challenges. On Wall Street, the Dow up by 440 points, the Nasdaq rose 51. More details at srnnews.com.
So right now, maybe the
customer service. We all talk about how it's gone down the tubes in recent years, but not everywhere. Not with the Hickory Hill Insurance Agency. These are the folks I want you to feel comfy reaching out to for your Medicare and health insurance needs. Tim Hanberry and Medicare Blueprint have joined Hickory Hill Insurance. The result? Even better customer service with a bigger team to help you by utilizing the very best technology in the industry. And you know what else? Just plain old caring about people and treating them like their family. When you call them, you'll get a call back fast. When you need a question answered, they'll take the time to help. This industry's so confusing, it's so ever-changing. They have a team that knows the best plans for you. They'll ask all the questions, they'll get all the answers, and as always, it won't cost you a penny to get their services. The best way to learn more? Visit their website, partdandme.com. That's partdandme.com, or call the team at Hickory Hill Insurance Agency. They're local, and they're willing to talk one-on-one. Remember, customer service still matters. 708-7398, 708-7398, or online, partdandme.com.
The holiday shopping season is here. Get ahead of the crowd by shopping early and shopping smart with Founders Federal Credit Union. Now through December 31st, take advantage of 7.99% APR on select purchases made with your Founders credit card. Go get the hottest toys for the kids or maybe even book a holiday getaway with your family. It's all possible with Founders Federal Credit Union. Spread more holiday cheer this year without breaking your budget. Visit foundersfcu.com/cc for more information. To obtain additional cost information, please contact us at 1-800-845-1614. Terms and conditions apply. On July 1st, 2025, the promotional APR will revert to the effective APR as previously disclosed. Visit foundersfcu.com/cc for a list of qualifying purchases. And happy holidays from Founders Federal Credit Union.
You don't normally call a plumber until you need a plumber. Well, if you need one today or if you need one tomorrow, I want you to remember Franklin Plumbing and Drain Cleaning. Listen, I might not know all the tricks to turning a wrench, but I do know how a plumbing company should work and how to treat people. My dad was a plumber, my grandfather was a plumber, and so were three of my uncles. Franklin Plumbing and Drain Cleaning does it right. They are the epitome of customer service. They're locally owned and operated, and Josh and his team, well, they put customer service as the top priority for Franklin Plumbing and Drain Cleaning. I've never known a business owner more intent on making it a great experience for people. And let's face it, when you have a plumbing crisis, well, that could be traumatic. They specialize in service and replacement issues for your home or for your business. They've been to my home and fixed 3 different plumbing issues I had in the house. If you need them, they're there to help. Online at franklinplumbing.sc.com or call Franklin Plumbing and Drain Cleaning 799-2222. That's 799-2222. And tell them Kev sent you from The Point.
Okay, we are back on Sports Talk here on the Sports Talk Media Network. Palmetto Bowl 2024. Welcome in. Good to have you with us. We're here rest of tonight, tomorrow, Talking Tuesday, Wild and Wonderful Wednesday, off on Thursday, of course, back on Friday, then up to Death Valley on Saturday. So we'll see what happens. Lots to talk about, lots to break down between now and then. One more thing on Clemson. Tomorrow, according to reports, not only is Dabo Swinney having a press conference per usual, apparently Clemson is to make some type of release or announcement regarding their NIL programming, and they are going to be explaining and clarifying, I guess, or outlining what their plan is for budgeting for NIL and how they plan to use their share of the money that is being allotted for NIL purposes, and maybe trying to shoot down the perception that Clemson is not playing the game like others. They had another decommitment over the weekend. Whenever they have a decommitment, what you read about it typically is Clemson did not step up and offer enough money, that the person decommitting took a better financial offer somewhere else. That's what you read from those who write about Clemson recruiting. Whether or not that's true, you'd have to know the player and their family. Perhaps they changed their mind simply because they like another team better or another coach better. That's the problem with this whole new era, though, of money. I mean, you can 9 times out of 10, you can pin it on the money, but it's not always the money. It's not always the money. But 9 times out of 10, you can probably pin it on the money. But Clemson is supposed to have some sort of information release tomorrow, or information posting, or maybe even somebody at the press conference is going to talk about their NIL involvement and the way they're going to be handling this next era of college football. So,
Phil, I think that's extremely smart, and I'm kind of surprised we have not seen that every week somebody from the Gamecock Collective, the Clemson Collective, just for lack of a better term, is not at the football press conference every week saying, here's what we're doing this week for our players. You need to get that information out there as much as you can. Whether or not it's factual, it doesn't matter. Just go tell somebody, hey, we're paying Cade Klubnik $5 million. Is anybody going to – I'm not advocating lying, but, I mean, who's going to double-check this stuff? But I think you have to, because you're in an era where now if you don't pay to get the top-flight players, unfortunately, you're not getting the top-flight players.
This is true. I mean, the most highly recruited players aren't always your best players, but they are the highest recruited, and they are the ones that when you've got – if you're in a position as a player, whether you're worth it or not, to have 2 or 3 schools battling for your services because they believe you are, well, that's going to drive the market up. It's just the natural reaction of the market influences, and so they stand in this era of open bidding for players. You're going to, until one team bows out, another team bows out, you're going to have that price continue to go up. And so what's most important to you, taking care of your needs and your family needs, or just going someplace where you might feel you're happy, but maybe you're not going to make as much money as you're going to make over at this other place? Just depends on how big a difference that's going to be as well. But anyway, we'll look for that up at Clemson tomorrow. In the meantime, let me remind you that it's a beautiful day in South Carolina today, no doubt about it. The temperature was just awesome. Made me feel like going to the beach. We can always think about going to the beach. The beach is only, from anywhere in South Carolina, no more than, 4 hours away if you're up in the upstate. But everywhere else, it's a relatively short ride to the beach. Why not make a plan to get to the beach soon and let Jimmy Smith and the folks at James Smith Real Estate take care of your lodging needs. Paulie'sVacationRentals.com. Write that down, Paulie'sVacationRentals.com. The beach is a great place. Jimmy's a great man who can help you find that right location for the size that you need and the budget that you need. That phone number again is 843-237-4246 for your perfect beach getaway, whether it be the holiday season, maybe you're thinking about something in the winter months, or maybe next spring or summer. Never too soon to get that plan nailed down. 843-237-4246, Paulie'sVacationRentals.com. Okay, let's get to your phone calls. Hear what you've got on the South Carolina-Clemson Carolina game, as we are fair and balanced here on Sports Talk in identifying the game. We go to somebody who's not fair and balanced, but he's been on a heater. He's been on a heater of late. It's Gamecock Larry joining us now right here on Sports Talk. Hello, Gamecock Larry. How are you?
I'm doing just fine. I'm glad you didn't say 90 seconds. I didn't call 2 days last week. That's 180 seconds. 90 seconds tonight is 270 seconds. So
Well, you've already used up 90 of them, so go ahead.
Okay, listen. No, I ain't. Okay, man, you done got me messed up. But I wasn't going to talk trash. I ain't going to talk no trash. But I'm going to tell you, Palmetto Bowl coming up there this coming Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
And the last time we was up there, I think we pulled it off. So this time we coming up there, it ain't gonna be 1 point, but it's gonna be about two or three touchdowns. And instead of having run, Cade, run in the paper like they had when he ran on that 60-yard touchdown run to beat Pittsburgh, I think it was.
Yeah, it was Pitt.
It's going to be Dodge, came, Dodge. Dodge, came, Dodge. But I'm going to tell you, we're going to go. And ain't going to say too much more. But I tell you what, I just got a feeling. I got a feeling that we're going to put a whipping on them Tigers. We gonna put a whipping on them Tigers.
All right, give me a score. I got to have a score. I need a score. What's your score?
You got to have. I usually don't give a score.
I know, but
till Friday.
Go ahead.
I'm gonna go ahead and give you one. I'm gonna give you one, and then I might change it. I'm gonna say 47-17 Gamecocks.
47-17.
47-17 Gamecocks.
All right, Larry, thank you very much. That was well over 90 seconds, but well worth the wait. 47-17, he's got the Gamecocks. We got Nick from Clemson had it 35-24 Clemson. Tar Heels had it Gamecocks 21-17. Let's see who's got next here as we continue with your phone calls. It's Keith in Camden up with us next. And welcome in, Keith. How are you tonight?
Hey, Phil. How you doing this evening?
We're doing fine.
Good. What, Smitty with you? Who else with you tonight?
Got everybody. Smitty, Chris, Josh.
Okay. All right. I wish I never feel good about going up and playing up there, but it's going to come down to who protects the football. Whoever has the least amount of turnovers likely will be the team to win. But what I wanted to talk about, a comment was made earlier about a 9-3 team getting in the playoffs, and I'd be the first to say beginning of the year, I totally agreed with that. But the frustrating thing for me, even with the 14 playoff, is it's been like a beauty pageant, and it continues to be that. They initially said they wanted to put the best 12 teams in the playoff. And that's what they need to do. And maybe they need to use some of those computer systems that Vegas uses as opposed to, 18 of them sitting around the table and half of them probably doesn't know that the football's not round. I mean, put the best teams in there. How in the world and look, I'm from Georgia and I'm a Carolina fan all the way. How do you leave Georgia out last year? I mean, it's just crazy. It's just like, it's a beauty pageant. And that needs to change, or they're just going to, pardon my French, they're going to screw the whole darn game up. So, y'all have a good evening.
As long as there is a committee and a selection process and rankings and the like, it's going to be a beauty contest. It's subjective.
Yeah.
And this is,
it is.
Do you want to take that away from college football, though? Do you want to take away the water cooler conversations, the arguments, the back and forth? I mean, that is maybe the last thing about college football that you can hang on to that's truly college football.
But, Phil, let me make this comment. I agree totally with you, but don't you think it needs to be transparent? I mean, don't you think that it needs to be where people are understanding the discussion around the table? Nah.
Should they televise them? Should ESPN have a special every Tuesday night and let's listen in on the committee?
Watch it. you and I would watch it. I don't know how many other people would.
Not sure I would.
But, yeah, I know I would. Look, great show, 38-34 in a thriller.
Which way?
Y'all have a good evening.
Which
Carolina.
way? Gamecocks
Carolina.
38-34.
If they win the turnover battle. If not, Clemson 38-34.
Well, we can't have an if, and, or but here. We're going to have to give you one or the other, so we'll give you USC 38-34. Does that work? That works. Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. Gamecocks 38-34. Guys, I don't know. The sentiment seems to be that, South Carolina's a pretty confident team, and their fans are certainly confident as well as this game approaches. Sometimes that can be a dangerous thing. You get a little bit too overconfident, but I'm not so sure that Shane Beamer is going to let his guys not focus on the task at hand and listen to all the rigmarole going on outside on social media and talk radio and all that. And I think they'll be fully focused on what they have to do to win the game. But I think from a South Carolina standpoint, withstanding the early minutes will be crucial, because I know when Clemson comes down the hill, their fans are going to be going ape crazy, and they're going to be emotionally high, which can be good or bad. It can also lead to mistakes. But surviving those first 5 or 6 minutes from a South Carolina standpoint, I think will be crucial for them if they're going to do what I expect them to do and what others expect them to do.
Well, I think, Phil, if you look at what they've done throughout the football season, there's a reason for USC fans to be confident. And we talked about the history when the two teams are basically equal, as these two are. When the CFP rankings come out tomorrow night, my guess is they'll be side by side again, both inside the top 15 would be my guess, and especially considering what happened over the weekend. But, I mean, you look throughout this year, where Carolina's played their best this year, at Kentucky. Certainly at Alabama, even though they lost that game, at Oklahoma, at Vanderbilt, where when they've been on the road environment has not fazed them one iota. And they may have played their best games of the year away from home this season. So that's part of the reason I think you would, if you're a Gamecock fan, you're extremely confident about your team's ability to go up there and play well on Saturday.
All right, we appreciate the phone call. Let's hit the break, and we'll come back with more calls. On the other side of the break, we got basketball tonight. Clemson is playing San Francisco. Bill Russell is not coming through that door, Smitty. Casey Jones is not coming through that door. The Dons on top of the Tigers 8-7, 15:36 to go in the opening half. USC men, they play tonight down in Fort Myers, Florida, in a tournament. 8:30 tip-off against Xavier, and we'll be back.
When I grow up, I want to be a teacher. I want to be a dentist. I want to be an engineer.
Making dreams come true starts with making a plan. Future Scholar, South Carolina's 529 college savings plan, makes it easy to invest in a child's future education so they can chase any dream. You can start with any amount. Contributions are tax deductible and earnings grow tax-free. Discover the smart, easy way to save for college today at futurescholar.com.
Some insurance carriers are based in another state or only have an online presence. Not at Farm Bureau Insurance. They're a local South Carolina company that believes commitment comes with a handshake. Become part of the Farm Bureau Insurance family today by calling Buddy Bridges at 864-984-0413 or stop by the Upstate office at 726 East Main Street in Lawrence.
South Carolina's taste buds have spoken, and they're asking for beef. There are more than 7,800 farms raising cattle from pasture to plate in the Palmetto State. So whether it's steaks on the grill before the big game, sirloin medallions plated for date night, or burgers with a family, make sure beef is a part of your playbook this football season. Smoked, grilled, and slow roasted. Find the best way to enjoy your beef at sccattle.org. Beef, it's what's for dinner in South Carolina. Funded by the South Carolina Beef Council, part of the Beef Checkoff Program.
Last throw, big guy.
Come on, baby. I need me a giant bear.
I got this. I'm the target. Then throw.
Oh, well, look who won a giant bear.
That's a grizzly.
Oh, Mama's baby bear.
When you join the South Carolina Education Lottery's Players Club, you get way more than you expect. More chances, more wins, and more surprises.
Yeah, he's had all his shots. Just don't look him in the eye.
Join the Players Club at seeducationlottery.com because more happens here.
This is Major Billy Downer with the South Carolina Department of Natural Resources. Boating season is right around the corner here in the Palmetto State. As you get ready for this spring and summer, make sure your registration sticker is up to date and you have a copy of your registration card on board your boat. For more information on boat registration and answers to common questions, visit dnr.sc.gov.
Football season is upon us, and that means Columbia is welcoming fans from around the corner and across the country. No matter where you're from, Gamecocks love coming together for game day energy that can only be found in South Carolina's capital city. Book hotel rooms, find pre- and post-game activities, and plan your tailgate spread with local favorites from pimento cheese to barbecue at experiencecolumbiasc.com. We'll see you soon, and go Gamecocks!
I'm attorney Jim Corbett. I'm not a case manager. I'm a lawyer for over 35 years. I don't charge 40% for your injury in your wreck case or any on-the-job injury. Call 803-765-2968 and ask for Jim Corbett or email me, jim@jimcorbettattorney.com, for the experience of a lawyer handling your injury case. Jim Corbett, 803-765-2968. Jim@jimcorbettattorney.com. Put 35 years of experience to work on your injury case.
Touchstone Energy Cooperative members save more on electricity, and members save more on insurance, groceries, healthcare, restaurants, travel, concerts, and sporting events through Co-op Connections. Touchstone Energy is an alliance of the member-owned electric cooperatives, and as a member, the power is yours. Experience the power of co-op membership with Touchstone Energy and find out how much you can save on electricity and a whole lot more at touchstoneenergy.com.
Okay, we are back. It is Sports Talk Media Network. Palmetto Bowl 2024. Saturday afternoon, high noon at Clemson. Talking about it all week here on the program. We'll have our guests as we move through the week as well. Wish you an excellent holiday week. Hope you can be with us. If you're leaving the area, leaving the state, losing our radio stations, of course, you can always follow us online as we stream on our new X account, which is Sports Talk Posts with an S, at Sports Talk Posts. Make sure you sign up for that. And, of course, YouTube and on Facebook, on our website, SportsTalkSC.com, and on the Chief Sports app. Great way to get us as well. Chief Sports app. It's a free app. Go to your Play Store or your Apple Store. You can download that app and listen to this program, watch this program, and many other programs as well. The Chief Sports app. Check it out. We recommend it highly. All right, we go back to before we get to Tiger Bryan, Smitty, you had something you wanted to add about the playoff conversation.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting what Keith and Camden was bringing up. And I by the way, I agree with your point that one of the things that I think I love and everyone loves about college football is the fact that it's almost those imperfections, the fact that you have whatever it is, 130 teams that are all vying for 12 spots. Well, you're going to have arguments along the way, which I think is just beautiful. It's part of the pageantry, part of the pageantry of college football. But I do want to say, and it's back to Chris's point, I want to be careful about what Chris said earlier. Said, the first year of the 12-team playoff, and you're going to put talking about a three-loss team going in. But I always want to be careful about this. It's something that's frustrated me for years. I do think, especially in college football, we carry this mystique about what's on the right side of the column. And for me, the way I try to fight that is go back and dig into the resumes and find out what your good wins were. Because Chris said, and look, I've heard a lot of people say, you can't put a 3-loss team in. Can't put a 3-loss team in. Okay, well, can I put a team in with no quality wins? That's another question. Why is that not? Can I put a team in that's beaten one ranked team? Can I put a team in that only has a win over 2 bowl teams and they're 6-5? Is that okay? You know, because to me, when I start laying resumes out, I hate to do this because we have Penn State fans, but like, let's say you like Penn State. Maybe Penn State is that good, but quick, tell me what's Penn State's best win. They're number 4 in the country. Number 4 in the country. Their best win is probably Illinois at home in September. Maybe you think Illinois is as good as Tennessee. Maybe you do, and that's fine if you think it's that good a win. I don't. I think Georgia's better than Penn State. And if I were on that committee, I'd hope I'd have the guts to put them ahead of Penn State, even though they have more losses.
Well, that's what they go. That's how they go round and round in that committee room whenever they meet. That's the thing about it. It's all subjective, and that there's no parameters for having an absolute 12-team playoff where you take the champions out of this league and you take the runner-up out of this league, like they do in the NFL. I mean, you do have wild cards in the NFL, but they earn those wild cards with their records. There's not a committee that selects those NFL teams. Maybe college football needs to get to something like that and take the committee process out of it if you want to do away with the conversation and the subjective part of it. I mean, again, I use this as an example. I'm a Packers fan, as you well know. They made the playoffs last year with 8 losses. Did I complain about that? I was, I was glued to the television the last Sunday of the season, hoping for a win and hoping that this team loses and that team loses, and you're able to get in. It's a whole different type of conversation you have with the NFL teams.
But I want to say I like the subjectivity. I'm saying the subjectivity needs to be there. We need to be better at applying it. We are gutless.
I just don't know that
so
you can.
Often.
I mean, one person's level of information is maybe greater or less than the next person. These aren't computers spitting out information and opinions. I mean, these are not opinions. They're spitting out information. These are people with their built-in opinions and, some based on where they grew up or where they live now or who they follow the most, which league they follow the most. They might have some preconceived notions about things, Smitty. How do you change that?
I just think it should be discussed, just like we're doing here. I guess I just want to make that overriding point that we have. I'm not talking about even specific people. We do this. We start looking at teams. We're probably going to kill, meaning the committee's probably going to kill Indiana for their first loss. Oh, they're not perfect. They tried to kill BYU for their first loss. Guys, they're the same team. They're the same team as they were the week before just because they have a loss. We have no problem with this in any sport. You have no problem believing that a team with 2 losses in the NFL is a better team than the one with 1 loss in the NFL when they play a different schedule. But in college football, if you've got 0 losses or 1 loss, we do think you're the Green Bay Packers from 1966.
Yep. All right, we're going to hit the break on Sports Talk, and we'll come back with more of your phone calls. Those of you on the line, hang on. We will get to you after the top of the hour break. We'll be right back.
WQXL Columbia, W264DF.
From the Bart Fireside Studio, the solution for keeping you warm this winter.
This is 107 The Point.
News this hour from townhall.com. I'm Keith Peters reporting. Some Charlotte airport service workers went on strike during the busy Thanksgiving travel week.
Service workers who clean planes, remove trash, and push people in wheelchairs went on strike Monday for higher wages and better working conditions. SEIU Regional Director Chris Bauman says some make just $12.90 an hour.
One of the workers spoke about living in a storage shed. Others live in hotel rooms, in U-Hauls, and they're tired of being invisible and tired of living in poverty when these companies have billions of dollars profit.
He says the union voted for a 24-hour strike during the holidays for a reason.
And so this is the time the workers said we will not be invisible.
The workers are employees of ABM and Prospect Airport Services, which contract with American Airlines at Charlotte Douglas Airport. I'm Julie Walker.
Forfeit wins have changed the outlook of the Mountain West volleyball tournament.
After receiving 6 forfeit wins, San Jose State's volleyball team is seated second in the postseason tournament. Those wins were because of boycotts from conference opponents. Mountain West members Boise State, Wyoming, Utah State, and Nevada, as well as Southern Utah, canceled matches this season against the Spartans. A recent lawsuit filed by players from various schools against the conference and San Jose State officials calls for a Spartans player not to be allowed to participate in the tournament. It cites unspecified reports asserting there is a transgender player on San Jose State. However, neither the school nor the forfeiting teams have confirmed the existence of that player. I'm Mike Hempen.
A judge has granted a request from prosecutors to dismiss the election interference case against President-elect Donald Trump. On Wall Street, the Dow up by 440 points, the Nasdaq rose 51, the S&P 500 advanced 18. More on these stories at townhall.com.
Anyone with everyday aches and pains, I've got a question. What are you missing out on? Probably a lot. So let me tell you about Relief Factor. Relief Factor is a drug-free daily supplement that helps your body fight pain naturally. It doesn't just mask pain, it helps reduce or even eliminate it. In about 3 weeks, you'll discover what it's like to feel better. Go to relieffactor.com or call 1-800-4RELIEF and save on your first order. That's 1-800-4RELIEF.
So right now may be the perfect time for you to rethink how you pay for health care. Not only is it open enrollment for a lot of people, it's when you can join MediShare and save even more than usual. MediShare is the highest rated healthcare sharing ministry, and members save up to 50% or more on their monthly healthcare costs. Here's why now, too. If you join before November 30th and use the promo code SHARE, they'll waive your application fee. You could save even more. Call now. It's 833-34-BIBLE. That's 833-34-BIBLE. 5.
Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell announced plans to shift into 2 key roles in the next Congress as he prepares to hand over the torch as the upper chamber's top Republican.
McConnell, who first announced that he was stepping down from his leadership post in February, said Thursday that he'll be heading up the Senate Appropriations Subcommittee on Defense. McConnell said he, quote, looks forward to working closely with incoming Senate Appropriations Chair Susan Collins of Maine, who is currently serving as top Republican on the committee and its Defense Funding Subcommittee. He also said he intends to head the Senate Rules Committee in the next Congress.
That's correspondent Bernie Bennett reporting. The United Arab Emirates says police have arrested 3 Uzbek nationals for the killing of an Israeli Moldovan rabbi. Monday's statement from the country's interior ministry offered no motive for the slaying of Zvi Kogan. News and analysis at townhall.com. I'm Keith Peters.
On Point Weather is made possible by our friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union on 107 The Point.
Here's tonight's forecast. Clouds do roll in a bit this evening. We'll have a low temperature dipping down to 54. Tomorrow it's a blend of some sunshine and more clouds. A 20% chance we get a scattered shower. The high reaches 72. If you're traveling this week on Thursday, could be a wet one in the Midlands. A 60% chance of some Thanksgiving rain. A 71 is our high. I'm Cal Moss with your On Point local weather.
WQXL Columbia, W264DF.
From the Bart Fireside Studio, the solution for keeping you warm this winter.
This is 107 The Point.
Welcome back to Sports Talk on the Sports Talk Media Network. You can reach the guys with the South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number. 888-898-2525. That's 888-898-2525. Now back to Phil and Chris with the second hour of Sports Talk on the Sports Talk Media Network.
All right, welcome back, everybody. Sports Talk, Monday night edition. It's a manic Monday, coming off the weekend, but it's a manic Monday because we're looking ahead to what's coming up. Clemson, South Carolina, Clemson, up at Death Valley at noon on Saturday. Projected to be a very close football game, which I think it will be a close football game into that fourth quarter. Then I foresee a game-changing play for South Carolina. And I haven't smoked anything, and I haven't had anything to drink.
I'm going to tell you, if you hit this one on the nose like you did 2 years ago with the game-winning field goal for the Gamecocks, even though you thought it'd come down to the wire, you still hit it right, and I think you were within a point of the actual final score. We're going to go ahead and just give you the Sports Talk Pick'em Trophy. I mean, if Nicky Memori wins the game on a pick six in the fourth quarter, you deserve the trophy. Forget whatever else has happened throughout the year.
I liked the year that he predicted the brawl. I thought that was really, really good.
I am still riding high off of 2 years ago. Maybe I'm a little overconfident. But no, I look at these two teams, and, Smitty has been if I'm at a Carolina game, Smitty's at a Clemson game and vice versa. So except for one game when I was out of the mix on a Saturday, one of us has been with one of those teams all season long. So I kind of feel like the two of us, because we see them in person, have a pretty good feel. And my feel is, frankly, simply, that South Carolina is just a better overall team. That Clemson has some warts, and I mean we're talking special teams, and even their defense has had some issues. I don't think their defense has been as good as anticipated. I don't think that they've had the kind of schedule that really tests you when you have to step up and play a team that is equal to or superior to you. I mean, the Georgia game, of course, that was some early evidence. When they finally did start to play a little bit tougher schedule, they won some games, but they were close. They lost that game to Louisville, which they were on paper a better team than Louisville, but didn't play that way. Pittsburgh was a right down to the wire game for them. They only had 17 points until Klubnik broke away on that touchdown run. So I just see some things, and I think South Carolina, even in their losses, except for Ole Miss, they laid their egg against Ole Miss. Everybody lays an egg. Maybe Alabama laid their egg this past weekend, but it might be too little, too late for them now when it comes to the playoffs. But LSU. Everybody agrees that should have been a W for South Carolina. Bad calls really did cost them that game. I don't usually like to pin wins or losses on a referee's decision, but those decisions had a direct impact on points. They took points off the board. So when that happens, and then Alabama,
and they keep them out of the playoffs, Phil.
Yeah, and Alabama.
I mean, that's how big a deal that game was.
Yeah, and Alabama, they had an excellent chance, of course, to win there. So anyway, I'm not going to rehash it all. I just think week in and week out, South Carolina has performed at a higher level than Clemson. And so if all that holds to form, South Carolina should win the game up at Clemson on Saturday. But it's a rivalry game, and we know funny things do happen, and Clemson does find a way in this rivalry to beat South Carolina at times when South Carolina thinks it's going to win the game, whether it's just Clemson relying on its history, tradition, whatever. It's fans pushing it forward, especially at home. They find a way sometimes. It's up to South Carolina to not let that happen for their standpoint. All right, back to the phones. Let me go to Tiger Bryan. Hang on, Smitty, because Tiger Bryan's been holding on since he and Mrs. Tiger Bryan were newlyweds. So it's been a little while. We go to Tiger Bryan in Lancaster for our next call. Welcome in, TB.
Man, I don't know what kind of Kool-Aid y'all drinking. I need some. You know what I mean?
You like garnet flavored Kool-Aid? Is that what you like?
No, I like Orange Crush.
Is that what you're bringing Saturday?
No,
Orange Crush?
Hey, listen to me. Last year, they had $1 million quarterback Gamecocks deal. All right, what we have. We had one transfer. He's a grad student, Bear Bryant's grandson or something. If we had 22 transfer portal, grown men playing against our boys. I mean, come on now. I mean, hey, we're gonna bust that bubble.
Mm-hmm.
You know, y'all go ahead and drink the Kool-Aid. All you Gamecock fans, all my friends. I mean, they all up in the. Oh, we're gonna beat y'all. We're gonna run the table. We're gonna go to the playoffs. They ain't gonna make the playoffs. I mean, we'd be lucky to make the playoffs. We win. I mean, but the only way we make the playoffs if we go to ACC and beat SMU.
Mm-hmm.
You know? All these teams got all these transfers. I mean, they have ruined college football. Dabo, Army, Navy, and Air Force is the only one that stands up to get the kids education. I mean, I know it ain't about that no more. It's about money. But I'll stand up for Dabo. But he got to get on. He got to get on board with transfer portal. But our kids, 96% graduation rate at Clemson University academic athletes. You say that against you Gamecocks. I mean, back in the day now, you was eating that damn chicken feed too. Corn. You starting to eat it. When we win good, you on the Tiger side now. Don't tell me I'm gonna have to start calling in on the morning with Mickey Plowler down on the roll. 6 in the morning. I'm gonna have to get up early, 6 to 9.
That's early. That's early. That's real early.
It don't matter. I mean, but no, I still love y'all.
Well, give us your pick. Give me your numbers. What you got? What are your digits?
I said it got 31-24.
31-24. But you see a close game then, 31-24.
Hey, you know what? We're gonna throw the ball all over South Carolina. They ain't got no defensive backs. Hey,
Okay.
all right, who's sack man at Clemson? T.J. Parker. He'll get 2 to 3 sacks on Slick Willie, you call it. The best thing since sliced bread. The old sellers.
You know, T.J. Parker's been dealing with migraines.
Yeah, well, I tell you what. Yeah.
According to Larry Williams.
He's been hitting on his quarterback.
Well, apparently they've gotten it under control. And thank you, Tiger Bryan. We appreciate the phone call. Have a happy Thanksgiving. We don't talk to you again before then. Yeah, Larry Williams wrote that Parker's been dealing with headaches. You know, maybe I call them migraines, just bad headaches, and it's been bothering him all season. And there's been some improvement. They've got it medicated, I guess, and it's helping some. Maybe that has something to do, Smitty, with his recent surge in sacks like he had at Pittsburgh. Or maybe it was the fact that Pittsburgh's quarterback was slower than I am. So I don't know, but I hope that he's okay and able to go at 100% against the Gamecocks. We want everybody to be healthy and able to go, and then both teams can have complete squads out there. But go ahead. You're going to say something before Tiger Bryan jumped on.
All I was going to say is I'm picking South Carolina, just to lay a preface, I'm leaning towards South Carolina to win a close game. But what I was going to say just prior to Tiger Bryan is if Clemson is to win this game, and they certainly can, they're favored by a field goal, depending on where field goal, 2.5, 3.5, where you look. I do think an issue for South Carolina could be Bryant Wesco Jr. We talked a lot about how South Carolina's been a different team through the second half of their schedule since that Ole Miss loss. And they've had some players that have been elevated. Nick Harbor has gotten better, and Josh Simon has been a bigger part of the game plan. Well, for Clemson, Wesco Jr. providing some support for Antonio Williams, especially over the top. I think his speed could surprise South Carolina. He's gotten open down the field against some teams. So that's one factor. And also, I think that Cade Klubnik running the football a little bit more often here down the stretch. You know, I think it's possible. I know a coach would never say this. They may have had to protect Klubnik and didn't want to get him in the open field very often through the first part of the schedule because you just can't lose Cade Klubnik, period. You just couldn't. You needed to protect him. Now, the last few weeks, Pittsburgh and now on, even against the Citadel a little bit, you saw a little bit more scrambling. I think Klubnik's legs is something South Carolina will have to watch out for as well.
All right, 888-898-2525, down to Garden City. And Ricky, welcome into Sports Talk tonight. It's good to have you with us.
Thank you, Phil.
Yes, sir.
I'm a Clemson Tiger fan,
Mm-hmm.
but why aren't we talking about Upper Conway, Lower Amer, UCLA, women's basketball versus USC?
You are more than welcome to talk about it. Go right ahead. The floor is yours.
I was greatly happy to see that.
Say again. You were breaking up.
I'm sorry, sir.
Yep.
I'm on the road.
No, go ahead.
Yep. UCLA beat. I mean, why aren't we talking about that? I know the game is Saturday with Clemson and South Carolina. And like the man was on there before, 31-24. I say the same score for Clemson, but
You said 41. Oh, you said 30. You want 31-24.
Correct.
Okay.
But what about the basketball game, the women's basketball game?
Well,
Sunday.
South Carolina got handed their first loss in 44 games by UCLA, and now see that game for me was up against the Packers, so I'm watching the football. I'm not watching the women's basketball, but I did read about it, and
yeah, that's the reason.
No. I'm just saying I didn't watch the game, but I did read about it and look at the stats. And Chris, maybe you watched it, and it just seemed like the Gamecocks were down 20 at the half. They could not cut into it in the second half. They shot the ball poorly. They got beat inside. UCLA apparently has better posts than South Carolina does. So maybe this is not. And look, they lost on the road to a team that was ranked number 5.
Right.
I'm not writing off the South Carolina women after one loss. Now the question is, though, and I haven't seen anything about this, why Fulwiley only played 2 minutes. Well, I did see a tweet from a former player, Tina Roy, and she tweeted something like, from what she was told, there was something that Fulwiley indicated she didn't want to go in or wasn't paying attention, wasn't focused on the game when Staley wanted to send her in, and so she just let her sit on the bench. Some kind of inner team issue there, it looks like.
Yes, sir. I read the same thing.
Yeah.
I did.
Yeah.
But I was kind of curious to see. I know we're talking about Clemson Carolina game this weekend. Nobody's called in and said anything about UCLA and Carolina.
Right.
That's what.
Well, this week is about the football game. Really, anything that happens in basketball, and maybe I'm at fault for that because I kind of steer things towards football until football's over, and football will be over except for the postseason as of Saturday. So we'll start, at least as far as I'm concerned, start paying a little more attention to basketball after that. It wasn't something that I was going to bring up because we're trying to focus on the football game. I think that's what people want to talk about.
Well, I look forward to seeing you at Rivals Wednesday.
Yep, I'll be there.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, man. Appreciate the phone call.
Yes, sir.
Come holler at us. All right, we got you down 31-24. All right, so we've had some Clemson people jump in and pick the Tigers and some Gamecock people picking the Gamecocks. That's kind of how it goes. San Francisco leading Clemson 27-22. 2:15 to play in the half. Tigers are only shooting 32% to 48% for the Dons. And leading the Tigers right now with 6 is Shefflin. He's also got 9 rebounds already. So he is cleaning up the boards. The Tigers are winning the boards, but they're not winning at the hoop. And we'll be back.
Set your youth up for a lifetime of financial success with Smart Start from Founders Federal Credit Union. Smart Start products and educational resources help teach kids and teens the basics of saving, budgeting, and smart spending. Help them learn smart money skills to jumpstart their financial journey with Smart Start savings, debit, certificates, and educational resources. Learn more at foundersfcu.com/smartstart. Federally insured by NCUA. Membership qualification required. Terms and conditions apply.
There's a lot of things we take for granted in our lives. Your home's AC will run cool. Your drive-through coffee will be hot. And the car will start when it's time to take your kids to school. It's when things don't go as planned that you start thinking about who to call and where to turn. The good thing is, you can prepare for life's most difficult days by calling the Larry Lucas Agency today. Larry is a State Farm agent that has been taking care of people across South Carolina for more than 2 decades. You probably have insurance, but switching is easy, and bundling can save you hundreds or more. Most importantly, the Larry Lucas Agency can help you choose the protection you want at the price you want. All backed by South Carolina's #1 home and auto insurance company. Visit LarryLucasAgency.com today or give Larry a call at 803-799-1998. Like a good neighbor, Larry Lucas State Farm is there.
You've put in the work for your education. The extra early, extra late, extra work. That's because you understand education opens doors to better pay, better opportunities, and a better you. Being educated about playing the lottery is no different. It helps you be a better player, one who knows when to play and when to take a rain check. The lottery's a game, so let's keep it fun. Learn more at sceducationlottery.com/betteryou.
All right, back with you on Sports Talk. Phone number 888-898-2525, South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number. Checking out messages in on our Sports Talk text message line, which is 803-900-4847. Just send us a text, 803-900-4847. And Mike writes in that, did you know that Shane Beamer was on Fox and Friends this morning? Got a lot of love there. I don't know. Does that show come on after 11 o'clock? If it was on before 11 o'clock, I wasn't aware. Anybody up by 11 o'clock this morning?
What was he doing on a politically based show? That doesn't seem to fit.
Well, I think one of the hosts is a big Gamecock. Even though she married a Tiger. She actually married a former Clemson quarterback the first time around.
Okay. That still doesn't answer my question, though.
Well, she probably arranged it, would be my guess. Are you wondering why he would go on it? Are you questioning why he would go on it?
Yeah, I just don't see the fit, for a politically based morning show. But hey,
well, he won't come on Phil and Friends.
This is true. Phil and the rest of the guys.
He won't come on. Phil has no friends. That's what it is. He dodges that at every opportunity. That's a good line there, Smitty. It's a good line.
That was good.
Some messages in on our streams. Let's see here. Some are congratulating Josh on the Gators' surprising win. That surprised me. Dr. Sterling Harris, not a medical doctor, but he's I guess a PhD. A 3-loss team will be in the playoffs. Wait and try. We'll see. That's how he put it. The ACC will only get 2 teams in if Miami and SMU are in the championship game. Also, Miami does not have a win against a ranked team. If they lose, the ACC gets 1. Well, I mean, when you play an ACC schedule, you're not going to get many wins against ranked teams unless you beat Clemson.
Yeah, especially when you don't have Clemson on your schedule.
Yeah, the way the schedule worked out. Russell says the Gamecocks are better than a lot of teams with 2 losses. They have the second toughest schedule of any top 25 school. He says ACC will get 1 team in. And let's see what else we have here. Eddie. Our friend Eddie and our friend Russell going back and forth with each other. We don't need to publicize their conversation, though they seem to be rather chummy with one another. Let's see here. Craig writes in 31-20 Gamecocks. He said, there, I said it, 31-20 Gamecocks. He said, if we beat Clemson on the road, they will give us a 4-1 record on the road. Bama and Georgia 2-2 on the road. Okay, that's something else for South Carolina to put on the resume. Ray says, what happened however many years ago when they are ranked is irrelevant to these 2 teams this year. always got the glasses on. Alan asked, who has Notre Dame played? And he said, also he added, this is a loaded Gamecock panel for sure. Steve, he says, please, Phil, pick Clemson to win. Hey, man, I've been among the leaders in our picking contest most of the year until recently. Alan says not going to happen. I think he's referring to South Carolina winning, not going to happen. Let's see what else we got here. That's pretty much it. Hello, Sarah. Thank you. She says, looking good, Phil. Thank you, Miss Sarah. Always good hearing from you. Quickly, by the way, Zach Willis will be with us at the bottom of the hour for 1st and 10, and we'll also do recruiting. Raymond in Barnwell is with us next. Raymond, welcome in. How are you? Welcome to Sports Talk.
I tell you what, you always do a good job. I've been listening to the show for over 20 years.
Yes, sir.
But I coached Raymond Priester back in the day in Little League football.
Mm-hmm.
And I grew up in the Danny Ford age and before. But I'm gonna tell you, when you go up to them Tiger Town up there, Carolina, there's no way Carolina can win. There's no way. There's no way. Carolina's got the better team, and I've been hearing you say this, that, and the other, and if they correct the field goal kicking, God, I'm worried about that. But otherwise,
mm-hmm.
You don't beat Clemson. You ain't gonna beat Clemson in Clemson. Not this year.
Not this year.
I'm gonna tell you, and I shouldn't tell you this.
Okay.
But if we just get on Sellers, he's gonna drop the ball. He can't hang on to the damn football. And we coming after him.
What's your pick? Give me a score. Let me hear it, Raymond. Let me hear it.
41-17 Clemson.
Not even close.
Yeah, not even close.
We got you, brother. Thank you very much.
I hate they play at 12 o'clock Saturday, but that's all right.
Yeah.
We play good at 12, 10 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the afternoon. We play good at either time.
As long as they don't play before 11 o'clock, I'm all good for that. Anything before 11 is not a good thing.
Yeah, I would prefer it later, midday or whatever, but 12 o'clock's good. I've been up there many day at 12 o'clock.
Yes, sir. You'll be up there this time, too.
41-17.
You got
it. If
it.
anybody wants a little friendly wager, just put the name out there, and we can get in contact.
Well, gambling in South Carolina technically is still illegal, so we really can't promote that.
Well, this is friendly. We'll bet some biscuits or something.
Biscuits are good. We thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Good hearing from you. We appreciate it.
You too.
All right, my man. Appreciate it. Hey, something else to ponder here, guys. Backup quarterbacks could become a factor in this game when you consider how vulnerable both quarterbacks are to the big hit because they run so much, because they just take off.
If that's the case, the Gamecocks have a major advantage there.
Do they?
I would think so. Who would you rather have, Christopher Vizina or Robbie Ashford?
Well, I don't know that I've seen either one enough to draw a conclusion.
Ashford's actually played an entire ball game this year.
They do two different things. Ashford's really a runner, pretty much strictly a runner. He's like a second or third running back there. And Vizina is he's a thrower as far as we know right now. So don't want to see that happen, of course. We want them both to stay healthy. But I'm just thinking, as much as they run around, they are vulnerable to the big hit and the and the injury-causing tackle. All it takes is a sprained ankle or a banged-up shoulder to get that next guy in there. Keep that in mind when you think about it. All right, we thank you for those phone calls. We got Zach Willis coming up, 1st and 10, to break it down, and recruiting after that. You don't want to miss recruiting tonight. We'll be back.
On Point Weather is made possible by our friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union on 107 The Point.
Here's tonight's forecast. Clouds do roll in a bit this evening. We'll have a low temperature dipping down to 54. Tomorrow it's a blend of some sunshine and more clouds. A 20% chance we get a scattered shower. The high reaches 72. If you're traveling this week on Thursday, could be a wet one in the Midlands. A 60% chance of some Thanksgiving rain. A 71 is our high. I'm Cal Moss with your on-point local weather.
Hey y'all, this is Ted from Flight Deck Restaurant. We'd like to invite you and your family to dine with us. We have a great menu that's sure to please your whole family. We have fresh cooked burgers, big juicy wings, blue plate menu featuring country cooking, oven baked hoagies, fresh crisp salads, authentic Greek food like gyros, souvlaki, and baklava. We also carry 20 different premium cheesecakes and pies. Flight Deck Restaurant also has an arcade with 30 different games like Star Wars, Batman, Skee-Ball, Bass Wheel, Pac-Man, Galaga, and so much more. Flight Deck, your favorite family restaurant. Thanks y'all and God bless.
With SRN News, I'm Keith Peters reporting a white Florida woman who fatally shot a black neighbor through her front door during an ongoing dispute has been sentenced to 25 years in prison for a manslaughter conviction. Susan Lawrence was sentenced Monday. The 60-year-old was convicted in August of killing 35-year-old Ajiki A.J. Owens by firing a single shot from her .380 caliber handgun in June 2023. The shooting was the culmination of a long-running argument between the two neighbors. Egg prices are on the rise again as a lingering outbreak of bird flu coincides with high demand during the holiday baking season. The average price for a dozen eggs in U.S. cities was $3.37 in October. That's according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics. On Wall Street, the Dow up by 440 points. More details at srnnews.com.
If you are 65 or older, you know.
Some people would tell you the world's on fire right now. Well, this isn't a political message. It's a message in support of Ken and his team at Broker Solar in downtown Columbia. I love what they're doing. This is meant to remind you about something. You can't pick your power company. It's not like swapping cell phone companies every time they ask for another rate increase. You know what, though? You can take control of your power bill. You can either pay the man or be the man. You can own your own energy. You need to reach out to Broker Solar. In famously hot Columbia, when it's 100 degrees in the shade, you won't lose power when the grid can't handle the heat. You'll have stored energy and a solar-powered battery. During peak hours, when the power company's cleaning up, you'll run off your solar panels and you'll get the last laugh. Hey, solar's not for everyone. It's a serious financial commitment with serious financial benefits. My suggestion is you reach out to Broker Solar and the guys and let them answer your questions. Online, it's brokersolar.com, or give Ken a call at 807-7417. That's 807-7417 for Broker Solar.
If you step onto H&J Cattle Company's farm, you'll find third-generation farmers upholding the legacy. They embrace sustainability and take immense pride in their craft, raising cattle purely on nature's offerings, without growth hormones, antibiotics, or animal byproducts. The result? Unmatched quality beef that's not just good, it's the best in South Carolina. Experience the distinct flavor of our finest registered Hereford and Wagyu beef. Visit us online at hdjcattle.co or on Instagram and Facebook at H&J Cattle CO.
Dave Ramsey here. Do you want your money to work for you rather than you working for your money? Go see my friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union. They're not a mega bank and have been serving the Midlands since 1936, offering good old-fashioned customer service and free services. They'll look out for your financial well-being. With 14 locations, check them out today at palmettocitizens.org. Federally insured by the NCUA.
Well, hard to believe, but my son Jacob has joined his sister Hayden down at the College of Charleston. 2 kids in college at once. Yikes. Am I going into debt to pay for their education? Nope. I've had my kids enrolled in the Future Scholar 529 program for years. We've had a little money taken out of our account every month, and now I'm prepared. Here are some of the great features of the Future Scholar 529 program. 100% of your contributions are deductible on the South Carolina tax return. In addition, you'll pay no federal or state tax when you withdraw these funds for your education expenses. This is good for in-state schools, out-of-state, even some international schools. And there's no minimum amount that you have to start with. Your 529 savings can be used for tuition, for fees, room and board, books, computers, a whole lot more. Are you ready to get started? Visit futurescholar.com. That's futurescholar.com. Remember, no state funds are used to market Future Scholar, and Future Scholar is self-supported and does not receive taxpayer funding.
Now,
First and 10 with Zach Willis on the Sports Talk Media Network.
All right, thank you, Mrs. Willis. Time to welcome in the coach, Zach Willis, here on Palmetto Bowl week of 2024. Great way to kick things off. Looking ahead, we'll have a lot of analysis as we move on through the week. But coach is always good for opening things up. Not so much looking back because they were pretty dominant victories for South Carolina and Clemson over the weekend, Coach. However, anything when you think about what South Carolina did against Wofford, when you think about what Clemson did against Citadel, anything stand out to you about their two performances that might be something of concern going into Saturday?
I didn't see anything, Phil, to be honest. I do want to say that I was very impressed with what Maurice Drayton's been able to do at the Citadel. Going back and looking at the improvement they made there, Maurice is a class act, and I'm glad he's there. I thought the kids played exceptionally well and hard for Wofford and the Citadel. They were just playing two of the better teams in the country. And South Carolina started off a little slower, but they didn't play a lot of people. They held some people out of the game, which I thought was real smart. It's really great to see them in a position where they can do that because Wofford is kind of a scary team. Both teams seem to come out healthy as far as I know. You know more than I would, but I didn't see anything that looked to be a problem to me.
Yeah. Anything to make of the amount of rushing yardage that the Citadel had on the Clemson defense? You just write that off to that's just that particular game. That's kind of what you'd expect when they start running the 2s and 3s out there.
It is what you expect, and also Dabo actually talked about it at halftime. One of the big things is, tackling the dive on the option is nowhere near as easy as people think it is, and to do it over and over and over again, even against a team that may not be quite as talented as you, they're better than you are at running their own offense. And Citadel, I can remember them beating a lot of people using that. When Charlie Taft was there, they were really, really good. And I think Maurice is a product of the Charlie Taft era. And, of course, Art Baker had tremendous success at Furman and Wofford running that. We won a national championship running the option, looking out of the eye. But it can be a hard thing to defend. Clemson obviously was explosive, but, unless South Carolina wants to switch to the option, I don't think it'll matter in this ballgame per se. But if they can establish the run, that's something we definitely want to talk about here in a second.
All right, so as you look ahead to Saturday, what do you see as the keys from where you sit?
Well, for South Carolina, we'll start off there. Number one, run the football. And I think we've seen when that Clemson's played some of the better running teams, they've struggled at times, but people have found a way to get, and they're extremely talented, and we've seen them be dominant. We've also seen Louisville slice them up. And you need to go back to that tape and look at what they were able to do to Clemson. Now, one thing about Dabo and that crowd is they learn from their mistakes. So they may not make the same mistake, but you may be able to scheme them or show them something that they have not seen before. But you got great talent because South Carolina runs the ball by any means necessary. They're going to run, they're going to run rocket, obviously, but they're also going to use their passing game to be their running game by throwing screen passes to him, shovel passes to him, and he's a great at breaking tackles. And don't forget Lenore Sellers. He is a gotta be. Nobody's contained him since they've been on this winning streak. Alabama didn't contain him. He messed up down the stretch on critical places because he was young. But they should have won that ball game, and he beat LSU everywhere but the scoreboard with him out for part of the game. But when he was in, they destroyed LSU and kind of exposed them to what we've seen them degenerate into here at the end of the year when their schedule got really tough.
What about from a Clemson standpoint? What do you see keys for the Tigers, how they would best attack South Carolina, their offense against that defense?
Well, first of all, you have got to contain their two defensive ends, the whole defensive line. They're 8 deep, 4 across. They can interchange those guys, and there's really no let up. Now, I will say, they've got Stewart and they've got the Georgia Tech transfer, and those two that's the best defensive end pass rush tandem I think in the country in college football. We hadn't seen one that good in a while, unless they were in Alabama or Georgia uniforms, to be honest. But they are relentless. Clemson's tackles are going to be tested like they hadn't been tested in a very long time, for sure this year. And South Carolina is going to have to contain Cade Klubnik And Clemson's got to protect them. And it's just going to come down. That's going to be a huge part of this football game. But Clemson's got to find ways to disrupt Sellers, and South Carolina's got to find ways to contain Klubnik and pressure him. And I think, honestly, right now, you've got to say his trajectory goes. This would be an easy one to favor South Carolina if it was in Columbia, but I like their chances if both teams play like they've been playing and continue on their present trajectory. South Carolina enjoys a decided advantage in momentum. Not saying it's a clear, easy choice, because you can throw the records out the window when these two play. Everybody knows that, and they know the emotion that we go in there. But Shane Beamer has already had one victory, broke that huge winning streak they had down there in Death Valley, not just over South Carolina, but one of the longest in college football home game win streaks when Carolina upset them 2 years ago. South Carolina is a great football team right now, and this is what, according to the coaches poll, number 12 versus number 13 in the country. I think it's probably more like number 8 versus number 9 or number 7 versus number 8 if you throw out the multiple losses that South Carolina's had and Clemson screwed up against Louisville. They'd obviously be ranked higher, but this is going to be a heck of a game. It may be the best we've ever seen. It
Zach
should be.
Mentioned, the offensive line dealing with South Carolina's pass rush a minute ago. Clemson, the expectation is 2 of their better offensive linemen will return from injury. Maybe you can tell us a little bit about that. I'm sure it's difficult to get one lineman back and then have him work with the 4 guys that have been playing. But how about getting 2 linemen back and then getting them back in the fold with the 3 other guys that have been playing the last few weeks?
Well, here's the thing is, if they're 100%, their starting lineup is really outstanding. But, making sure, they're at home, that's going to help them a ton because the crowd noise could really disrupt their chemistry. But they're going to be able to play relatively quiet, I'd say, when they've got football, so they can talk to each other. Where they're going to have to decide what they're going to do is how they're going to deal with the pass rush that South Carolina brings them. And, Vanderbilt, I was at that game, chose to chip the defensive ends as much as they could and did a pretty good job with it. Interior just absolutely ate Vanderbilt up in the second half because somebody's going to get a one-on-one matchup. And if it's your 3 technique, which is the outside shoulder of the guard, which is what happened at Vanderbilt, South Carolina, beat Vandy's quarterback up and knocked him out of the game. They can't afford that with Klubnik. So there's going to be obviously they're going to try to establish a run game with that great running back that they have. And obviously Moffa is, I would say, one of the better running backs in the country, and they have a great running game. They just hadn't seen a defense like South Carolina's. It's going to be interesting to see how they handle that, especially with guys coming back, because they're not just coming back to an ACC game here. They're coming back to a top tier, probably the best defense in the nation at this point. And I go by, things build different weeks. People play different ways. But I'd say for the last 5 games at least, South Carolina's had the best defensive front in the country. And I think Ole Miss is the only one that comes close to them. But they're destroying people and very credible, good football teams. That's for sure.
It's a rivalry game, and on paper, one team can look superior to the other or slightly better, or they can look even, whatever the case may be. But how much do you factor in the not just a home field advantage, but I don't want to say want to, because both teams want this badly, but psychologically speaking, which team here do you think has the edge? Because, I've always believed that Clemson, because they've dominated South Carolina in this series, they kind of walk out on that field expecting to win in the game, and South Carolina walks out on the field hoping to win the game. And so there's kind of as I perceive it, a different attitude. You ever think that? Does that make any – if that is true, does that make any kind of a difference in the outcome of the game?
If that's true, yes, but I don't think it's true of this particular South Carolina team. We can go back. They've had landmark win after landmark win this year, and they've strung 5 together. But even before they were winning, they were changing the culture. And when Shane Beamer talks about changing culture and what they did against Missouri, it really started back against LSU when they got robbed. But they never quit playing, and the game didn't end on the the pick six that they called back. They actually fought back with a backup quarterback for most of the second half. And had they kicked the field goal, I have no doubt their defense would have shut LSU down or forced another turnover and won the game in overtime. I mean, they're a team that is one of these rare times. Dabo has built that thing, and Shane Beamer has too. But Dabo has done it. Actually, I love the way he built that program and the culture they have, and I'd never come out and say they have no chance. That'd be crazy for anybody to say, because you can't ever bet against Clemson in Death Valley against anybody, much less South Carolina. But if there's any team that's capable of coming in and defeating Clemson, it's this South Carolina team. They've gone into Tuscaloosa, played lights out there. They played actually better on the road sometimes than they have at home. If you look at the game at Vandy, because Vandy is a viable opponent this year, and you look at the game at Oklahoma, I mean, they've gone on the road and played extremely well. They've acquitted themselves. They dominated Kentucky. They really kind of exposed Kentucky, and Kentucky turned around the next week and lost by 1 point to Georgia. They've been very consistent on the road, even before they were consistent at home. I see this thing being a barn burner. I want it to be like the Auburn A&M game was the other night, go to 4 or 5 overtimes. I want it to be an absolute slugfest, physical football game that every fan, whether they're Clemson or South Carolina, they deserve the year they're having. And the Palmetto Bowl, I think we have a right to say we've earned the right as fans to watch this matchup. I hope both teams show up, nobody gets hurt, and they knock the heck out of each other for 3 hours. And when it's over, we say, man, nobody lost that game. That was an absolute war.
Yeah.
And that's what we want. That's what we love. That's what our state runs on.
Coach, as always, we appreciate it. I hope you and the family have a great Thanksgiving. Look forward to being with you next week. We'll look back at the Palmetto Bowl and just see how spot on we might have been or just how off we happen to have been. You just never know.
You never know with kids, but I will say this. Thanks to both coaches and staffs for doing a tremendous job leading up to this game. Let's hope it continues.
Thank you, sir. Have a great holiday. Talk to you next week.
Okay, guys.
Thank you. All right, 1st and 10 with Coach Zach Willis. And we'll hit the break. We'll come back with tonight's recruiting report. It's brought to you by Seawells. That's coming up after the break.
Your home is where your memories live. It's where you laugh and where you love. We understand the importance of the valuables under your roof, tangible and intangible alike. So no matter what's around the corner, we'll be there, offering you and your family the support that's made Farm Bureau Insurance a trusted name for nearly 70 years. You deserve more. You deserve a promise. Learn more at scfbins.com.
Call me, Alex Satterfield, at 803-749-9171 for all of your Midlands insurance needs.
Call Lawyer Lisa. Experience the difference with Lawyer Lisa.
Hi, I'm Lisa Hostetler-Brown. Helping an aging loved one arrange for their care can be one of the most difficult things you will ever do. Fortunately, you don't have to navigate this maze alone. Lawyer Lisa's knowledgeable life care team can lead you down the right path. Visit lawyerlisa.com to see how we can help.
Call Lawyer Lisa. Experience the difference with Lawyer Lisa.
7511 St. Andrews Road, Irmo, South Carolina.
Touchstone Energy cooperative members save more on electricity, and members save more on insurance, groceries, healthcare, restaurants, travel, concerts, and sporting events through Co-op Connections. Touchstone Energy is an alliance of the member-owned electric cooperatives, and as a member, the power is yours. Experience the power of co-op membership with Touchstone Energy and find out how much you can save on electricity and a whole lot more at touchstoneenergy.com.
Hi, Phil Kornblut here with our good friend George Bryan III, heard every Friday night on Birdies, Bogeys, and Biceps right here on Sports Talk. George, the Tsunami Bar, a very valuable tool for golfers. Why is that?
Well, the first thing that I say is the tempo. It's the only tool out there that allows the study of tension right from the first grab to be expressed, and rhythm and tempo is what makes the bar work, and it gives you something awfully special to keep those hands soft and get that rhythm going.
Learn more about Tsunami Bar technology by clicking on the digital ad on our website, SportsTalkSC.com, and save 5% by purchasing online using the promo code BBB5.
The Sports Talk Recruiting Report is sponsored by Seawell's Catering.
All right. We're back. Sports Talk Media Network. Time for the recruiting report brought to you by Seawells. Smitty, as I look at you, you look like you could use a good Seawells buffet. I mean, you look kind of skeleton-like. What are you, about 135 pounds soaking wet now? I mean, what's going on? We got to get you to Seawells and beef you up a little bit.
Yeah, I need to get there. Need to jump on. Need to jump on some turkey. I guess they're closed this week, but next week.
No, they're
post Thanksgiving.
I think they're open. I saw Cal. He said they'd be closed Thursday, Friday. So tomorrow, you're coming in for Beamer. You can slip right over there after. Good place to do your work too. You got to go someplace to do your work because they run you out of there. Go over to Seawells, have the buffet. Tell them that Corn says hello. They'll throw in a little extra piece of cornbread on your plate there.
Oh, no, I've tried that. And what happened was they asked me to pay my bill up front when I told them I did.
All right, well, don't lose your receipt if you happen to do that. Okay, they do say the camera adds weight. I think the camera makes, Chris, I think the camera makes Smitty look thinner.
There's no doubt. Smitty is by far the most in shape version of Sports Talk.
And you, sir,
if we're going to put out a calendar, as Sports Talk, it'd be Smitty all 12 months.
In various forms of undressed.
Indeed.
And you've got that Bob Fulton voice going.
Oh man, I wish.
Deep, huh?
Yeah, no, this is I'm not blessed with the Bob Fulton voice. This is cold voice that I've had for days.
Oy.
Yeah, it was funny. Our on-site producer and game day host Sam Wiederhaft on Saturday made a comment during the game that the desk in front of me for the Georgia Southern contest looked more like a pharmacy. I had cough syrup and water and everything going on Saturday. So
I understand.
Making it through.
Well, anyway,
playing hurt today, Phil.
I understand. We appreciate you, man. We continue though with Seawells presenting the recruiting report. Yes, they will be closed Thursday, Friday. I believe open tomorrow and Wednesday.
Do we get a Wednesday roast beef Wednesday?
That'd be nice.
Yeah.
That'd be nice. I might hit that up if that's the case. Whether or not they're open all week long, next week they'll be back, and you want to get over for the daily luncheon buffet, and you also want to let Seawells know that you need them to handle all your catering needs. Just make a simple phone call to 803-771-7385, or you can check them out online at SeawellsCateringSC.com. So Clemson loses a commitment on Saturday. Great way to start a football Saturday. Safety Tay Harris, Cedartown, Georgia. He flipped to Georgia Tech. He'd been committed to Clemson since March 18th. He attended the NC State at Georgia Tech game Thursday night, and that's a no-no. If you're committed to Clemson and you haven't publicly decommitted, you don't go to another game. But he did. And then he never really decommitted. I think he just let him put out a graphic that he's now with Georgia Tech. Georgia Tech's doing a lot of that. They're doing some good recruiting. Harris had camped at Clemson last summer, returned for a junior day in March, and then soon after that he announced his commitment, choosing the Tigers at that time over Tech and Georgia, Southern Cal, Oklahoma, Florida, LSU, Ole Miss, and others. Supposed to be a very good prospect. That's 5 defections from the Clemson recruiting class thus far. It leaves them with 13 commitments. Meantime, and you can draw your, the people that write about Clemson recruiting, whenever they lose one, they usually pin it on the bag. May or may not be true. You can draw your own conclusions this day and age. Defensive tackle Christian Ingram, Covington, Georgia, 6'4", 280, made his official to South Carolina over the weekend, and he told us last night he now favors South Carolina, but he is going to visit Southern Cal. It was going to be Vanderbilt this weekend. He's changed that to Southern Cal. And then he'll finalize his decision after that. But definitely up front is where he'd put South Carolina. He loves that it's close to his home. He loves the coaches. He said they felt real genuine. And also they're losing a lot of defensive linemen, and there's a chance for him, if he works hard and is good enough, to come in and play right away. He's also taken officials to Kentucky and Michigan, but none of those earlier ones met up to what South Carolina showed him this past weekend. He also had a very nice conversation with Shane Beamer when it was over and done, and he said he'll have his final decision made up and ready to announce on December 4th. Also, over the weekend, USC had official visitors, wide receiver Jackson Rep of Christ Church, and safety Steve Miller of Greensboro, Georgia, a Southern Cal commitment, and their own commitment, defensive end Jaquavius Dodd. Miller's going to visit Southern Cal this coming weekend, and Rep is done with his visits. Had a very good time at South Carolina, and I would say he's going to wait till signing day probably to announce something, but I would say that barring any kind of change here, that it'll be South Carolina with him because he's really not considering anybody else. And they reassured him, he lost his season early because of an ACL. They've reassured him that the offer's there and the spot for him is still there. The Gamecocks also had in tight end Mike Tyler once again. Hal McGranahan had a picture showing Mike Tyler back at South Carolina. He's been committed to LSU, plans to make a final announcement on December the 4th, but he's been at South Carolina a lot. Also in 2025, running back Taquan Payton, and he's out of Beaufort, Georgia. He's a Memphis commit, has not yet been offered by the Gamecocks. He's rushed for over 1,700 yards this season. They also had in, among others, in the 26 class, offensive tackle Desmond Green of Timberland, offensive tackle Zion Giles of Carvers Bay, and receiver Gordon Sellers of Charlotte. Clemson put most of its recruiting efforts on official visitor Irmo wide receiver Donovan Murph. He was at Clemson last summer. He also visited for a game in September. He's also taken officials to USC and apparently Colorado. He recently visited Colorado based on a picture he posted on social media. Plans to announce his college choice on January 2nd at the Under Armour game. Tigers had committed center Gavin Blanchard in for his official visit. They also had in 2026 target offensive tackle Maxwell Riley of Avon Lake, Ohio, among others. USC offered transfer tight end Zach Atkins, 6'3", 240, Northwest Missouri State. He has 2 years of eligibility. He had 30 catches for 360 yards and 4 touchdowns in his 2 seasons. He's a native of Olathe, Kansas. Or maybe it's Olathe, Kansas. Whatever. USC target defensive tackle Kelton McHale of Jones Community College, Mississippi, committed to Kansas State. Anna Adams of 24/7 Sports on Sunday reported that USC target defensive tackle Kevin Wynn of Greensboro, Georgia, plans to visit Georgia Friday, and Florida State Saturday. He's been committed to the Seminoles, though he's been shopping around, has made several stops at USC. 26 offensive tackle Leo Delaney of Charlotte named the top 8. Clemson, Michigan, NC State, Penn State, Georgia, Nebraska, Wisconsin, Tennessee. USC's in the top 6 with 26 tackle Micah Smith, Vero Beach, Florida, with Miami, Ohio State, UCLA, Tennessee, Oregon. 26 offensive lineman Zion Giles of Carvers Bay named the top 8. USC, Clemson, Georgia, Florida, Colorado, Alabama, Auburn, Tennessee. And Lugoff Elgin defensive back Tyquan Murphy decommitted from the Army. He had committed there in late October. And I can only kind of chuckle at the idea of decommitting from the Army. I think maybe once you go to the Army, you just don't decommit. Not that he never made it there, I'm just saying.
And it's Olathe, Kansas.
Olathe, Kansas. Smitty, final quick thoughts from you, sir.
Well, Carter Finley Stadium is going to sell its naming rights. Don't do it. Keep what you've got. Comiskey Park is like crypto field now. Don't do it.
That's a good point. More of that's coming. All All right, Talking Tuesday tomorrow. We'll see you then.
WQXL Columbia, W264DF.
From the Bart Fireside Studio, the solution for keeping you warm this winter.
This is 100